So you want to get yourself on the property ladder this year, but you're not quite sure where to start. Well, listen up, because I've got the 10 steps of the process for you that's going to get you those keys to that dream home. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam, I'm an expert mortgage broker, and I've got a 10-step process for you to get the keys to that first property. Now, if you like today's video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. There's a new video every week for you, full of useful information about buying your first property and getting yourself on the ladder. Now, the first bit of advice for you isn't officially step one, it's just try and use an expert. Doesn't have to be us, obviously we'd love it too, but try and use an expert to help you through the process. It can be quite complicated, it's best to have some expert help. Things can go wrong. We don't want to be, having to deal with your bank because, it's hard to get through to anyone. If they've got problems or questions, it's always harder to deal with the bank yourself. If you deal with a professional, an advisor, then they're going to take all of that away for you. And there's usually things that they know, things that we know that you don't, to enable us to make sure that you end up in that property and not declined. So step number one then is your deposit. We need a deposit. Gone are the days, years and years ago, of 100% mortgages. They're not around anymore. There's the odd special scheme using family members and things, but I'm going to ignore that for now. They're few and far between. So in the most part, we're going to need some deposit. We're only going to need 5% though, a lot of the time. So we help a lot of people with just 5% deposit. The rate's a little bit higher, sure, but usually when I look and compare it to how much rent you would pay for a similar property, it's still better to buy. So 5% deposit. Quick example then, house at £200,000, that's a £10,000 deposit. House at £400,000, that's a £20,000 deposit. So we need some deposit. We also need a little bit of money for some fees and costs. Now, I've covered fees and costs in a previous video, so I'll pop a link to the description in that below, but we need an extra few £1,000s depending on your purchase price. So go and watch that video once you've seen this one, obviously. So depending on your purchase price, there's an extra few £1,000s, not loads, but an extra little bit we need for solicitors, maybe some stamp duty and that sort of thing. So go and check that out in a minute. Now, the next thing we're going to do with your advisor or with us is we're going to check your affordability. Now, there's loads and loads of different lenders to consider, and they all do something different with your income. Some are more generous than others. So just because you bank with someone doesn't mean that they're going to be the best lender for you. In fact, it's often not the case. It also depends how your income is made up. So a lot of people have a basic salary and then they might get some overtime or bonus or commission. They might have an extra job on the side maybe. All those things go towards complicating your situation. And so different lenders will all look at that differently. So there's lots and lots of choice, and we can get a wildly different result with lender A versus lender B. So you need someone that's going to be able to look at lots of different lenders for you and know which ones are going to be best to go to. Your credit score can also affect which lenders we go to. So that's always good to know what your credit is like before we start down this process. So it's always handy to just download a copy of your credit report. Did a video about that last week, pop a link in the description below so you can find out how to go and get your credit report. That's a useful tool to help us. Okay, so once we've checked your affordability, we're going to get an agreement in principle. So an agreement in principle is us doing a credit check with a particular lender. So it's a credit check, an affordability check, and what we end up with is the lender saying, yes, we will give you this mortgage based on what you've told us. So we have to make sure that we put all the information in right, and that is why it's best to use an expert that knows what they're doing, because it's very easy, and I've seen it time and time again, it's very easy to put in slightly the wrong information or interpret a question wrong and end up with a figure that is not accurate. So we get an agreement in principle that's going to check your credit score, going to check your affordability, and we're going to end up with normally sometimes a certificate to say, yep, you can have this money. It's very important to have our agreement in principle because a lot of estate agents now will ask you, have you got an agreement in principle? Have you checked out your finances? So you can safely say, yes, I have, and I'm good to go, and here is my proof. I don't know why I'm waving, you might not get a certificate, but here is my agreement in principle. We're ready to go. Okay, so once we've got your agreement in principle, we've checked your affordability, we know everything's going to be okay, it's time to start looking for properties. This is the exciting bit. It's important to go and view lots of different properties. Not many people buy the first one that they go and see. Some people go and view hundreds of properties. Hopefully we don't get in that situation. But it's important not just to go and buy the first one. Go and get a feel for what's available. Even if you don't think it would necessarily be suitable from the details online, pictures can be deceptive, so it's important to go and get a feel for the property in the flesh. So go and have a look at some. And then, once we've done that, we're going to be starting to think about making an offer on a property. Now, I've done a video about how to make an offer on a property and how to make sure you are successful. I'll pop a link in the description below. Watch this video first, but go and watch that after. But that is going to tell you exactly what to do. Now, once we've got our offer accepted, our estate agent is going to want some things from us. They're going to want some ID, so we can show them we are who we say we are. They're going to want your agreement in principle. They may also ask for proof of deposit so that they can show that they've checked that you can actually afford to buy the property. And they're going to want some details from us. They're going to want a solicitor. We'll talk about solicitor in a second. We would normally let an agent know as well at this point that you're good to go. So that's part of our service, that we say to the estate agent, yep, we're ready to go, and we're going to go and submit the mortgage application. Which leads us neatly on to the next section. So we're going to submit a mortgage application. So we've also got a video on this on the channel, but in summary, at this point we're going to need a few documents from you. We're going to need some ID, we're going to need your pay slips and your bank statements, any other proof of income as well. If you're self-employed, we'll talk about what we need there, but we're going to need some documents. We're going to need all your documents, and then we're going to put together a mortgage application for you. We'll get that submitted, or your advisor will get that submitted, and send in all your documents to the mortgage lender, and then there'll be some questions and things from the lender. They'll have lots of questions about who you are and what you do and things. They may come back and forth a few times. Again, that's why it's important to have an advisor, because you don't want to be dealing with that. That's what we're here for. The mortgage lender is also then going to want to do a valuation on the property. They're going to want to check that the valuation is right. You're not paying too much for the property. They're also going to want to know that it's not going to fall down anytime soon. I mean, they don't go into the finer details of the structure of the property. It's a quick check to make sure it looks okay. It's the valuation that's the most important thing. Then once they've got all the information they need, we'll get ourselves a mortgage offer. So that's the end of the mortgaging process. Now, at the same time as submitting our mortgage application, we need to instruct a solicitor. So the estate agent wanted the solicitor's details, but we're going to need to actually instruct the solicitor at this point when we submit the mortgage application. Now, it's the solicitor's job. It's a really, really important job. We need to choose wisely when it comes to solicitors, because there are some great solicitors out there. There are also some not very good solicitors out there, and it is them that can dictate how smoothly this whole process goes. Now, hopefully your estate agent will be proactive and be in touch with you and your solicitor as well, and we do our best to do the same, but it's your solicitor that really controls the speed of the process. There's a few jobs for them to do. They need to let the mortgage lender know that the property, legally speaking, is suitable for them to secure their mortgage on. They're going to ask all sorts of questions from the vendors. They're going to do some searches. They're going to check with the local authority about other planning permissions and things. Any problems that you may have in the future, they're going to make sure that the property is able to be sold, that the land belongs to the property. You'll know about if there's any future developments and things planned. We're going to know about water and drainage and flooding and all sorts of things like that. So the solicitor's got a very, very important job. So there's lots of paperwork that the solicitor is going to go through with you. Now, the next thing we need to do is a really, really important part of the process, and so many people forget to do this or overlook this, especially when they do it themselves. We've got you a mortgage, we've got you a nice big debt that you've got to repay for a lot of years. We need to keep you in that property. Part one of our job, get you in the property. Part two of our job, keep you in there. And what do I mean by this? We need to protect the mortgage. It's so important that we make sure the mortgage is covered if you die, or if you're ill, if you have an accident, or anything goes wrong like that. If you can't pay your mortgage because you're ill or you've had an accident, then the mortgage lender is only going to give you a certain amount of time before they start saying, actually, we want our money back now, we're going to take the house off you and we're going to sell it. And we never ever want that to happen. So we always want to make sure that the mortgage is protected and you are protected if anything goes wrong. So that's a really important part of the process that so many people overlook. Okay, so we're getting towards the end now. Things are getting exciting. We're starting to talk about dates and things. What we're going to do next is exchange of contracts. This is the big milestone. On exchange of contracts, you pay your deposit, whether that's 5% or 10%, you pay your deposit. I think most solicitors tend to ask for their fee and stamp duty and that sort of thing now as well, although technically it's not necessarily payable to completion. Most solicitors just get the money, so they've got it because there's not long to go now to completion. So we're going to agree dates. You're going to all agree what date you're going to move, and most of the time everyone in the chain is going to move on the same day. So we're going to agree a date, and then your solicitor is going to talk to the other solicitors up and down the chain, and we're going to exchange contracts. So everyone now is legally bound. You must buy the property, they must sell it to you, deposit has been paid. If anyone pulls out now, it's a whole world of pain, breach of contracts we don't need to go into right now, but exchange of contracts, that's a key milestone. All that's left now is completion. So completion means all the money changes hands, the mortgage money comes in. So we're going to get the keys to the property on completion. That's a really exciting day. That's what we've been building up to. You get to enjoy your property, decorate it how you want, put your furniture in there. Then once you've moved in, that is the end of the process. It's yours now to enjoy and repay your mortgage over however many years. Let's not worry about that right now. So that's the end of the process. You've moved in, you're enjoying your first home. Now, if that sounds like something you are planning to do in the not too distant future and you've got any questions at all, there's a link to book an appointment with us, a completely free consultation with us in the description below. There's also a link to our website so you can go and learn a little bit more about who we are. Obviously you can use any other mortgage broker as well. But I hope that has been of some use. If it has, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, because there'll be another video along that you're going to like next week. Until then, take care.